Hey, Book Baddie.
I'm Casper, and my pronouns are they, she.
And I'm Cierra, and my pronouns are she, her.
Welcome to the Bound to Be Bad podcast, a book club podcast where we discuss one book a season from the perspective of someone who has never read the book before.
And from the perspective of someone who has. This season, we are so excited to be reading Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros with you.
We aim to rave and rant about anything and everything that comes to mind while reading. But please note, this podcast will be discussing book spoilers as we talk about each week's chapters.
As this will be Casper's first time reading, spoilers for anything beyond the already read material is not fair game.
This podcast is run by adults who will most likely be using adult language and talking about adult themes. So please be aware of your surroundings while listening.
These thoughts and opinions are expressly our own, and by no means reflect those of the original author. Reading is a privilege, books are art, and art is objective.
That being said, we'd love for you to read along with us and share your thoughts and opinions as well.
So, without further ado, prepare to enter Bezgayath War College. Now, before we get this ball rolling, here's a little overview of how this conversation is about to go down. First, a little about us. This is, after all, my excuse to catch up with my bestie and force them to obsess over my obsessions too. Then, I'll provide a quick summary of all 4 chapters. We'll give our non-spoilery overall thoughts before diving into each chapter individually. Then we'll discuss our favorite quotes or moments and any predictions for the rest of the book. Rounding out the end of this episode, we've got a fun little section where we've each picked a song to dedicate to each chapter. Songs that will compile into a public playlist for you, our lovely listeners. Got it? Good. Now let's dive in. Let's talk a little bit about us. If you haven't listened to our intro yet, we've been friends for over 20 years, which is wild. Want to give a little bit of your background with reading and where you are currently in your reading journey?
Yes. So I grew up reading like crazy. Middle school, high school, I would read 3 books at a time a week. There were nights where I would start a book and stay up all night reading it and be done with it by school the next morning, despite the lack of sleep and then therefore falling asleep in class the next day. It's fine.
Still did better on all your tests than me.
Once I graduated and went to college, and reading became such, a huge part of school, and reading huge boring textbooks, chunks of them, different ones, every night really killed my love for reading, unfortunately. And so I wasn't really able to read for enjoyment as much. And there have been periods over the years where I will hyperfixate on reading and read a bunch of books and then not read for months or years. But I've started. It's not quite the hyperfixation level yet, but I have started reading again. Obviously, we're reading this book and we're doing this podcast, but I've been reading on my own.
It'll get there, don't you worry. We'll get there.
It will. I just need to renew my library card.
If you're not watching the YouTube video accompanying this podcast, there's a cat in Casper's lap. And there's 2 cats in the background.
Yeah, FYI, I have pets. I have 3 cats and a dog. You are likely to see them. This is Jinx. She especially loves to cuddle when I'm sitting in my desk because that's our special time. So if you hear her purrs, apologies. But she's a sweet baby.
I don't apologize for Jinx. Jinx is a woman of the people.
Look at her. Look at her beautiful.
Void
Oh,
kitty.
you're the void princess. Okay, so
Anything else about your reading history, or is there anything else you're reading outside of Fourth Wing?
outside of Fourth Wing, I started a little while ago reading Wicked, and I've taken a break from it because I've been reading this. But I've been reading Wicked, and I really enjoy it. I have loved the stage show since I was young, but have never gotten a chance to see it. So I'm familiar with the plot, and I know that people have been talking a lot since the movie came out about how different the book is from the movie and how much more scandalous and edgy it is. And I haven't gotten super far into it, maybe a quarter of the way or so. But so far, nothing super scandalous has happened. It's stuck pretty closely to what I know of the plot. And I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. I don't find it all that shocking so far, but I know there are some things that coming up that are gonna be a little sus.
Alrighty. Do you mind if I get into my history with reading?
Please do.
Growing up, obviously, I was a massive reader. It was my escape. Harry Potter came out around the same time that I was the same age as Harry Potter and the gang. And so that was big in my life. Then as I got into my teen years, it was Twilight, but also Nicholas Sparks and Jodi Picoult.
Sarah Dessen.
I don't know if I've read any Sarah Dessen, because I then quickly fell into paranormal romance, where I was big into the Anita Blake Hunter series, and then occasionally would read the big books that came out. I think I read 50 Shades of Grey when that was a thing, and then there was a huge stint, I think at least 10 years, where I hadn't read anything, unless there was a movie coming out and I wanted to hop in on the bandwagon with that movie. But then Book Talk happened, and everyone was talking about ACOTAR, and I jumped in because it had been way too long. To say that I was hooked would be an understatement. I think I found ACOTAR in 2022, and I've been reading nonstop since. Not that reading is a race, because it's not.
No, but you have an incredible list of the number of books you've read.
I appreciate that. I think I've consistently read about 50-ish books a year, which I've seen. It's kind of middle of the road, I think, just from what I've seen. But
Compared to my 0.5 books a year, that's incredible.
look, I have a gamer partner. So while he games, I read. That's
Fair.
just how it goes. But my journey with Fourth Wing, so I found Fourth Wing, if you could not tell my love for the series with my background, when it first came out. And so I didn't actually hear too much about it. I knew there was some murmurings online about Fourth Wing, and when I saw the first edition in store with the dragons on the sprayed edge, I was like, I'm gonna buy this. And then I instantly fell in love and have subsequently bought every new release with the series so far. Granted, there's only been 3, but I kind of have a special place in my heart for Fourth Wing because I found it at the beginning and have followed its entire journey, and it's been fun. As far as what I'm currently reading, so at the stage of recording this, Onyx Storm has been released. Shout out to my partner for getting me the Target edition when I couldn't. Onyx Storm left me in such a fog afterwards. A cave of hurt and like a big piece of me was missing, and so I've just been kind of rereading, diving back into the world in different parts. I've been listening a little bit to Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm, just randomly. It's fine. I'm healthy and normal. And
Nothing wrong with it.
right before Onyx Storm came out, I was in the middle of reading a book called The Witch Collector. I actually have it. I think it's, and I'm gonna pronounce this name wrong, I believe it's Charissa Weeks. I'd heard a little bit about it on the interwebs.
Love the cover. It's pretty.
I think I'm about 60% of the way through it, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. And a lot of that I think is because of the hangover that Onyx Storm left, because it's not my dragons, so
Yeah.
it's not quite the same, and I'm afraid it's affecting my views of this book.
No.
But that's a little bit about us. So let's head into our summary of the first 4 chapters, because that's what we read this week.
Yes.
So we meet Violet Sorrengail as she is voluntold to enter the Writers' Quadrant of Basgiath War College. In order to enter the Writers' Quadrant, Violet first must make it across the parapet. The prospect seems slim when she arrives at the platform and is met by one Xaden Ryerson, the son of the Great Betrayer, the gets you into trouble and you like it level of hot wing leader, who happens to want to see her ended. And he's not the only one. After narrowly crossing the parapet and running into her childhood best friend, Dane Atos, Violet is then faced with her biggest fear yet, being under the command of the very man who is out to get her. Dun dun dun.
Oh.
I really hope you act out all of these summaries, because that would be so funny.
Just in the facial expressions.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you first. Let's jump into our overall non-spoiler thoughts.
Hell yeah.
Since this is your very first time reading it, what'd you think?
I really enjoy it. It's given me a lot of vibes from a lot of different, like, books in the genre. I definitely get Hogwarts, Harry Potter vibes with Basgiath, with the War College. I feel like with the way she writes, it's like there's such a clear image in my mind. And sometimes it is hard not to just straight up visualize, like, Hogwarts from the movies.
I don't believe it's ever specified exactly if this is set in more of a fantasy setting, like traditional medieval-esque fantasy,
Yeah.
or if this is something new. It's kind of a hybrid.
Yeah, the writing is immersive. I find myself, when she's describing like the layout of the college, I find myself flipping back to the map, especially if I'm listening to it while like reading. I'll flip back to the map to try and like get a better image of it, the layout in my mind, to be so I can have a more like accurate visual image of it in my brain.
When you're reading, are you more of like you picture yourself in the moment, in the halls of Basgiath kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Okay. I give myself like vague senses. I love maps, don't get me wrong, but I'd never flipped. I'm just like, I think I'm somewhere where it's stony and I'm in a hallway maybe. This works for me. Good enough. Let's go.
I think for me, it just really helps to immerse me, essentially.
Fair, yeah.
Because especially when the story is written in first person POV, very much put myself in like that POV of the character, more so than from an omniscient. Thank you. More than an omniscient POV.
I will say, the first time I picked up this book, I was shocked at the modern language because I already had I come from a very romantic-y heavy reading. I like my fantasy, but I like a little bit of smut mixed in. And then I think I saw an interview where Rebecca Yarros mentioned that this is her first adventure into a fantasy book, because I believe she first became published as a contemporary romance author, and so she wanted Fourth Wing to be your gateway book into fantasy books, which I find really refreshing. Sometimes I think fantasy can get real bogged down with the details, and it works better for the way my brain works, the way that she contemporarily builds her world, because it feels more natural to me than just somebody listing everything they see in paragraphs and paragraphs of writing. As far as characters go, how do you feel just generally about the characters we've met so far?
I have thoughts.
Do tell.
I like Violet. I have some complicated feelings about Violet because so far she aligns very much with some of the tropes that you see in, these kinds of books. It's given a little Katniss Everdeen, especially with that braid. And just that female protagonist who is seen as weaker and is like underestimated, but has this big call to action. However, what I really like is still how different she feels. This is kind of jumping into the representation stuff, but I love how she's portrayed as having a chronic illness.
How easy was it for you to notice that she's a chronically
As
ill
someone
character?
who does deal with some like chronic pain, there were definitely things that I picked up on, but I like that it's subtle. It doesn't just come out in your face and say, oh, I have this whatever, and this is how it affects me every day, and this is how people, underestimate me. It's very like, it's not exposition-y.
Yes. That's one of my favorite things about the writing style.
Yeah. You pick it up in how her mom and her sister talk about her, like to each other or to her. Her mom saying to Mira, Violet deals with more pain by, by the time she breaks in one day than you do like an entire month. Well, whatever. I don't have my book. I didn't write the quote down. I do have my book, but I didn't mark the quote. Her talking about how the healers knowing how to wrap her knee from the time like the healers showed her how to do it and little things like that.
I was just going to say, the first time I read it, it completely passed me by. So I just assumed it was that damsel in distress, I'm so weak and tiny and frail trope. But then I found out that Rebecca Yarros herself suffers from, and forgive me if I mispronounce this, but I believe it's Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or EDS. And for anyone who might not know what that is, because I had to look it up, it is a group of genetic disorders that affect the body's connective tissues, primarily collagen, and this can affect a person's skin, muscles, and joints. There are also many types of EDS, but Rebecca Yarros herself, and now her main character Violet, specifically have hypermobile version of EDS. And I just thought it was really cool from what I've seen online, not straight from Rebecca's mouth, because I don't believe I've seen her talking about it specifically, but I've seen that she hadn't seen a character in a book with her specific chronic illness, and she wanted to write a character and had that, and I really appreciate that. Representation, and I know there's quite a few people out there that feel seen reading this character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something else as far as representation that I was blown away by when I first fell in love with the series is just how inclusive and diverse this series is. It fits the modern language of the book, I think, really well, and it just gives a very realistic feeling to all these characters. We haven't met half of them yet in the chapters that we've read, and I'm really excited for you to meet them. But for instance, the love interest, if you're going off the back of the book, I don't believe it's gonna be...
Spoiler.
Yeah, I don't believe it's gonna be a spoiler, but there's only one male name written on here, and that is Xaden Ryerson.
Interesting. Interesting.
He's a person of color, and the first friend that she makes, Rhiannon, is another person of color. But I'm just so excited for you to meet all these characters because it's really fleshed out while still leaving them vague enough that you can kind of fill in whatever you need to in your brain. But there's a really great cast. I believe Rebecca Yarros calls her characters in this book unwieldy.
Oh, good lord. I'm gonna need a flow chart. I'm excited to meet the other characters from what I've seen of them so far. I'm really enjoying them. I really love Rhiannon. I'm a little bit biased because I love the name Rhiannon, and
Fair.
one of my best friends in high school was named Rhiannon. And there's also the band. Please help it again. It's not Stevie
Fleetwood
Nicks.
Mac.
Fleetwood Mac. Thank you. Every time I fucking forget because I just go Stevie Nicks. No. Yes, but no. Plus, I also really love the Fleetwood Mac song Rhiannon. But yeah, I'm excited to meet more people. Dane, I'm definitely getting some like Gale vibes from the Hunger Games, like with their dynamic especially. But as far as non-spoilery stuff, I think that's all I got right now. Hi, Chinky.
Let's head into our next section where we dive deep into chapter 1. So, thoughts on General Soren Gale, since that's one of the first people that we meet.
Mothers, am I right? We're complicated. We have a new friend.
New friend!
He look angry, but he's sweet.
Mostly angry.
That woman is in a lot of pain, and she is taking it out on her daughter.
We learn that she lost her brother already 5 years ago. Ever since then, her dad was having heart complications.
Relatable.
A little over a year, I think, before the present time is when he passed away. And then instead of going into the scribe quadrant, like she's been training to do her whole life in the footsteps of her dad. Lilith is like, every Soaring Gale's a rider, don't you know?
No, I don't know that.
I think a beautiful way to describe just how militaristic Lilith runs not just the school, but her household is this line where it says, guess there are no meritorious service awards for emotional availability. I just thought that was a good example of A, Violet's sassiness, B, she was able to sum up in one line their whole dynamic.
Yeah.
I just thought that was clever bit of writing there. When Mira and Violet are getting ready to go down to the parapet, I found it really sweet. Just the moment where Mira sits Violet in between her legs and starts braiding her hair while she's telling her all how to survive.
And who to sleep with. Or not sleep with.
Yeah, that's really sweet. At least Violet had somebody that was kind to her growing up.
I love a sisterly bond, you know?
Yeah, I do too.
Sisterhood, man.
Also, with there being a 6-year age difference between them, I didn't think we would really see much of that, but then we still got a warm and tender moment between the two. I thought that was nice. I didn't notice until rereading that, so throughout the book, Violet's main mantra is, I will not die today.
Yes.
I didn't realize the first time she mentions it is to Mira before they say goodbye. And I thought that was a nice little touch. Because it's like a part of Mira she brings with her. One thing I love about the first person perspective, and specifically about the way Rebecca Yarros writes, she gives you information but doesn't necessarily expand on it because it's a great way to leave Easter eggs behind. Or she'll foreshadow something that seems like absolutely nothing right now. But then as the series goes on, it's like, we knew about that from chapter 1. Okay, got it. Cool. You're a genius. We know this now.
See, I love that for you, that you get that experience of going back and like putting the pieces together. While I'm still just freaking clueless. It's that enjoying the like juicy little details of I know what's coming and I'll put something together and you got no idea.
It's the best. The amount of tabs I have just for foreshadowing or Easter eggs that I plan on bringing up once the reveal is up.
You have no idea what's in store.
But with it being a first-person perspective, especially when you have a character who is flawed in any way, which most characters should be if they're a good character, I think. In my
No one likes a Mary Sue. Everybody fucked up.
Right. But Mira's explaining marked ones because Violet, who's been living in a war college or in the system her whole life, has just been on the periphery of it and doesn't necessarily understand because she also wasn't meant to be in this quadrant. Mira explains marked ones are conscripted into the writer's quadrant as punishment for what their parents did. And then literally pages later, Violet's like, this is the only quadrant at Basgariath that doesn't accept conscripts, only volunteers. I'm like, you were just told differently?
My goodness. Maybe she has ADHD.
Maybe.
I mean,
it would track. In general, everything that Mira tells Violet to in this scene, Violet does the complete opposite of immediately. She's told not to make alliances, instantly befriends Rhiannon and Dylan. Is told not to sleep with anybody in an older year than her, only has feelings for people in older years than her. It's great. It's great foreshadowing. Thoughts on Dylan and Rhiannon then?
Yes. Like you said, I love how she's told not to make friends and just immediately bonds. Like, totally understand that. That is a me thing. Like, you find a person and you click. I mean, not that they don't really like go into a whole lot of detail about it, but I don't know. Just, there's that vibe of, I see you. Trauma bonding, basically, honestly. Let's be real here.
And the instant, like, need for Violet to help this person that she just met.
Yes, but also, yeah, I love that she's like, this girl gonna die. I'm not gonna let that happen. Here's my boot. Poor Dylan, though. God.
As soon as he's like, I'm not gonna die, I'm like, buddy.
Honey, sweet baby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. As soon as he pulled that ring out, I'm like, okay, so first up on the list. We ain't gonna be seeing you anymore.
I have beef with Rebecca. The first time I read that line where he's like, I have a girl back home and we were gonna get married. You're ruthless, Rebecca. Ruthless. I was like, so no one's safe in this book. Got it. If I didn't
literally like
understand that from the dedication.
Someone's been taking notes from J.R.R. Martin. Jesus. She do me so dirty.
That one
so
is
quick.
a G now, right?
Yeah, that one is a G. These damn fantasy authors with their too many initials sounding the same. Anyway, yeah, as soon as I wrote in my notes, like on my sticky notes, as soon as he pulled out that ring, I wrote, he gonna die. And then a little bit later, and then I went back to my sticky note, and in parentheses I wrote, called it.
I'm always torn between the world building in this section, because I'm like, are you mentioning that writers can marry as soon as they graduate for a reason? Or is this just to make our hearts hurt immediately as soon as Dylan passes away? Which is it? Is it both?
Probably both. But yeah, no, I wondered that too. Because my immediate thought was like, so there are restrictions on getting married? Interesting.
We need to talk about my Zaddy.
Zaddy, yes.
Thoughts on Xaden? And they can't be bad because he's my man.
I don't have
you can't
any
have
bad
a negative
thoughts.
thought about him.
I don't. I have none, because I know where this is going. One of the things I really love about the enemies to lover trope, when it's done really well, are like the subtle little details. How she describes her heart galloping, or like the staring contest that they have, and her stomach clenching, like all of these things that can be interpreted anger or abhorrence and hatred, but can also very much be interpreted as like lust and passion, because there's such a thin line there when you have those like big emotions.
And I will say Rebecca Yarros is fantastic at writing high tension romantic scenes. It's so good. Wait till we get to the smut.
Oh, I'm so excited. Maybe I'm just a fucking whore, but I like some heavy smut. I want to learn new things. You know what I mean?
So do you see the tension in this scene? Because I've heard some discourse that some people were like, I think he just hates her. And I don't know how much of that is maybe people not reading between the lines, or maybe it's not written clear enough. Or maybe some people aren't experienced with more of a bully, enemy to romance, enemy to lovers.
I don't know. That's what I love about it, is that it is kind of ambiguous, and it can be interpreted either way. Like, maybe right now, yeah, they are only having these reactions and these feelings because, you know, there's this hate, like innate hatred because, oh, you killed my fucking brother, and oh, your mom killed my fucking dad. So, but again, the first thing she's thinking about when she sees him before she knows who he is like, damn, oh, goddamn.
Man.
Let's be real. At least on her end, there is part of that as well. There's that in there.
Yeah, I feel like too. So I like to write. I write often, and as a wannabe author, I find the enemies to lover trope to be just so juicy because you can sneak in so much nuance within all that tension building. It's my favorite, not just as a reader. I think as the book progresses, you'll be like, I see what else you did there in these scenes that I couldn't see the first time around, and I'm just really excited to get to them.
Excellent, excellent.
Shall we dive into chapter 2 now?
Yes.
Alrighty. This chapter starts with that first reiterance of the mantra, I will not die today. And I love it. It's already a callback to chapter 1, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be a theme.
Hell yeah.
Sometimes I need to remind myself on a regular basis. Let's be honest.
I feel that. As someone who has dealt with depression most of their life, I feel that.
So as they're walking the parapet, we get a little bit of God talk. Did you find... It's very vague in this first book, I believe, the gods in the world building aspect of things. But thoughts on just their inclusion?
I appreciate it. I love polytheism. I am pagan, although I'm a little more atheistic pagan. But I love mythology. I've always loved Greek mythology. I would really want to learn more about Norse mythology. Yeah, just more about different polytheistic spiritualities.
Do you feel like it just fills out the world building then?
Yeah. And it's something that's always fascinated me. So, like, I really hope she gets more into the, like, gods. Like, I want the mythos. Like, give me the lore. I am a whore for lore. Give it to me.
New merch idea again.
Yes.
So now that we are experiencing the storm on the parapet, and we know from chapter 1 that Lilith Sorengale's signet is storm wielding. Violet Sorengale, I answer as thunder cracks above me, the sound oddly comforting. I've always loved the nights where storms beat against the fortress windows. Thoughts on if Lilith sent the storm?
I can see it going both ways. Because to me, it depends on how aware of Violet's, like, feelings and nuances she is. Does she know, like, is that something they've discussed, that storms bring Violet comfort? Like, was it a, like, potentially reassuring, like, trying to comfort her or, like, let her know that she's there? Or, because you could also see it as vindictive.
She does say that people are going to make things harder for her, so I can see this being a added test from Lilith.
Yeah, not necessarily vindictive, but like still intentional. Like, like pushing her.
Let me show you that you can do this even through a storm.
Yeah, mama relationships, they complicate it.
I mean, any parent relationship is complicated.
True, very true.
But I just wanted to throw that out there, see what you thought, if you made any kind of connection between Lilith sending it and what you thought the motives were. So I'm glad I got that answer out of you.
There was also a little part of me that's like, what if there's a possibility that it's not intentional, of it being an emotional reaction? That because I mean, you've lost a husband, you've lost a kid, you know how likely it is that you might lose another kid. Maybe this, like, you would assume that she has a good amount of control over this power.
Well, we do see in chapter 1 she's getting mad at Mira, the temperature in the room drops.
That's true. That's true. I feel like there is that possibility that it could have been an emotional reaction that, like, because it also stops right when she's done. So it's okay, she's safe. And again, it could be like she was just trying to kind of challenge her a little bit more.
I think it's something we should keep an eye on. And then as the story goes, see how we feel, how that evolves.
Yeah, I'm very curious about the relationship and how it grows, evolves.
Thoughts on Jack Barlow, the smug bastard in line behind her?
So here's the thing. He's an asshole. But one of the first things I wrote on my little sticky notes when I was taking notes was,
You like him?
they gonna fuck? Because now look, I realize we already have an enemies to lovers primary love interest.
Well, and she still has feelings for Dane.
And she still has feelings for Dane. Okay, but here's the thing. Neither of them are first years. And she got to get her rocks off somehow. I'm just saying, there's that tension, you know, a little bit of hate fucking. Because I'm also getting Draco Malfoy vibes, okay? And, like, I know that Draco and Harry is purely fan fiction. But you can't tell me that there weren't some subtle undertones in those, like, if anyone in those books was going to be gay. Really, Dumbledore? I mean, I get it, but like, come on. We all saw it. We know what's happening here. I think I just outed myself as a Drarry stan. I promise. I'm not alone, but I promise I've never read any of fan fiction. Mine was always a Draco / self-insert.
Not
Anyway.
Draco Hermione.
A little bit. Just a little bit. On occasion, as a treat.
Treat yourself.
Yeah, treat yourself. But yeah, I'm definitely getting that tension of like, I feel like it could go either way. Maybe they are just going to straight up try to kill each other. Well, he's going to try to kill her.
I mean, he already killed one cadet.
He did. And he already tried to kill her, or had the intention of trying to kill her. So, I mean, I don't know. But I could also see it. I could see it happening. I could see the heat of the moment, you know, passion. I'm not ruling it out.
And we already know from Mira's attitude, the writer's quadrant, they do be fucking.
They do be fucking.
It could go anyway. So she makes it across the parapet, and this ending scene, where Jack is finally coming for her after throwing that other candidate, not quite cadet yet, off the parapet. She makes it across. She's holding a dagger to his balls. I'm like, okay, cool. She's badass. This was my sign of she's not going to be a damsel in distress, even though she may be frail and actually chronically ill.
Yeah. Like, she tough as hell.
She badass.
God, I wanted her to castrate him so bad.
Then how are they gonna fuck later like you want them to? Make up your mind.
I never said I wanted them to. I'm just expecting them to. And you know what? You can still fuck without balls.
True.
I think.
If anything, it just means he won't be able to procreate.
There we go. Fuck his legacy.
The writer taking names is just like, name.
Like, what kind of shit has she seen? This is completely just, I want to know. I need like a side story. Give me some bonus content there. I want to know what else has gone down.
I want to know what Mira has seen, because in chapter 1, when she's like, don't make friends, form alliances, who have you lost in your years in college that affected you and who you are now?
True. I am very curious about Mira as well.
Ooh, thoughts on, so when she's nervous, she kind of info dumps because she was trained as a scribe, and she gives very much Ravenclaw vibes if we're going with the Harry Potter analogy, which, my girl, I'm also Ravenclaw. And how did you find getting info as a reader in that manner?
It's an interesting way to have some exposition without it feeling like very exposition-y. Someone is just straight up blurting this information at another character for the sake of getting the information out. I like that it was worked into a coping mechanism that she has to calm herself. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Me too. That and the epigraphs at the beginning of every chapter. The addition of epigraphs, I feel like, is something I hardly ever see in Romantasy. I'm pretty sure this series is the only series I've seen it in so far to date.
Interesting.
And so it's been nice, especially because there's a lot of Easter eggs and foreshadowing within just the epigraphs. And it might not even be about the chapter you're currently in. Granted, a lot of it is for that chapter specifically, but it could be just dropped and then suddenly it comes back up in a later chapter, and that's my favorite.
Yeah, I love that stuff. Do you feel like the series, because you've read clearly all of it so far multiple times,
I have a problem. You can say it.
It's okay. It's not a problem. No, I love that. I love that because you get so much more, especially with really I don't want to say dense, but my brain just went nutrient rich. That's not the word I'm looking for.
Tasty.
And there is a lot of that world building. You do pick up on things every time you read it that you didn't notice before. Even just because I read the chapters 1 through 4 more than once, even just going back and reading it, that section after having read it the first time, I picked up on things that I didn't catch before. Or my brain just kind of skipped over.
What's the question?
Question was, do you find that as a series, it leans more it is more in line with fantasy novels you may have read? And I know you haven't read a ton of just pure fantasy. Or do you find it leaning more towards that very romance kind of? Do you feel like it fits in one category more than the other, I guess?
Gotcha. I would say in Fourth Wing specifically, it does a really good job of balancing fantasy and romance. It's definitely specifically a romantasy book. And I think a lot of people have different definitions of what romantasy is. To me, I value romantasy as being like 50-50. It's evenly both a fantasy and a romance novel. Then there's fantasy romance, which is fantasy leaning. Romance fantasy would be more romance leaning. I do find, because there is so much set up for the world, I can't not call Fourth Wing a romantasy book. I do feel like then Iron Flame maybe focuses more on the romance, and then Onyx Storm switches back into almost more fantasy than romance.
Interesting. I
but
like that.
she just she dances all over that romantasy line, and I'm here for all of it. So
yeah, because I haven't read a whole lot of romantasy, but in some of the things I have read, I feel like there are times where the fantasy aspect of it can feel more like a backdrop, I guess, than like an in-depth setting plot point. And I think part of that comes from not necessarily a lack, but not as in-depth world building. Because I guess for me, that's what really sells it with fantasy is describe this world to me. Like, I want to picture it. Again, I'm a whore for lore. I want to know all the details. The more you build it out, the more invested I am.
No, fair. I'm excited to see how you take the line between fantasy and romance with this book, like where you think it falls once we complete it. Shall we dive into chapter 3?
Yeah.
One thing I love about the dragons in this world is that they are very much the superior beings, and the humans are just parasites benefiting from them.
Yes, I love how they very much are like sentient and conscious and have a society amongst themselves. I love that they're not just animals, or even like because I feel like in a lot of fantasy that depicts dragons, like, yes, they're these big, majestic, powerful beings. They do have some like a higher level of intelligence than, they're not livestock, they're not cattle, but to have them as an equal, if not superior, of mind and intelligence and self-awareness than the human, like the main human race or humanoid race, you don't see that very often. And I think that's very unique, and I really enjoy that it's very much like a symbiotic relationship, and that they're on, somewhat equal playing ground.
Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. I can't wait for you to meet their actual personalities as we get introduced to more and more dragons.
Me too, because I'm already in love with that big navy blue one.
She's so fantastic. And way down the line, we start to hear a little bit of what her personality is like and what her voice sounds like, and it's so good. So good. After some congratulatory, I was gonna say banter, but it's not really banter. It's kind of just we made it, let's switch boots with Rhiannon. Violet literally runs into Dane Atos, her childhood best friend, long-time crush, where they just have always had missed connections. You did speak a little bit on thinking he's very Gale-like. Mm-hmm. Other thoughts?
So Gale vibes for sure, that relationship there. So when Mira and Violet were talking, having their little sisterly moment, and Violet's talking about how Mira's always been a lot more open about the men she's been with than Violet, and Violet mentions all two men, and I interpreted that more as Violet has been with two men than Mira, if Mira is that open. And it makes me wonder if maybe one of them was Dane. Well,
it seems very much, at least from the way she talks about him when they're up in his room, it's like, we've always kind of just missed each other. I'm wondering if this is the first time we'll actually be on the same page about wanting each other.
That's
so it doesn't
true.
feel like they were ever official or sleeping together.
See, I could very much see it be as not necessarily a prolonged or sustained thing, but a very much, not even that, but maybe it happened one time. Maybe they were each other's firsts or something like that.
Yeah, I can see that.
I could see that happening, and it being something that they don't really talk about. Maybe they just decided, okay, we're just gonna be friends, or maybe he decided we just need to be friends because I'm going off to this war college and I'm not gonna see you for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fair.
Yeah, it could be.
I would be interested in seeing them growing up. I believe she specifies that they've known each other since they were 5 and 6. That's wild. I can't imagine knowing anybody that long, and I've known you for over 20 years.
Yes. Yeah. The only person that I've known that long are my siblings.
Right. Rhiannon comes over and there's a bit of a, who the hell are you?
Yeah, I just love how they've so quickly pack bonded. Especially because Dane
then goes, you gave your shoe for me.
Yeah, he's in my life. Which, valid, she probably did. But I love, especially that Dane is like, okay, hey, you go tell her that I'm taking both of y'all. I really enjoyed. So they're in it together whether they like it or not now, but Yeah, I love how, like, immediately, because she has no idea who Dane is, that Rhiannon is just, like, on the defensive, like, excuse me, who the fuck are you?
Right?
Like, I love that.
A bit to your point with maybe they were each other's firsts. Dane is very touchy-feely with Violet in this moment. Like, not only just helping her, but when, like, there's a point where his hands fall away and he's running them down her sides and he feels like sheaths for her daggers in her armor, the vest that Mira made her. And it's just, childhood friends don't be touching each other this closely. So maybe you've got a point. And then Rhiannon comes in and she's just like,
back off, that's my girlfriend now.
right? I will say, as Dane is trying to convince Violet to go back to the scribe quadrant instead of staying in the writer's quadrant where she rightfully has just proven her place, I can understand this being your longest friend and caring deeply for this person and not wanting them to get hurt. But it gets to the point where, like, he is pleading and everything he says comes out so selfishly. It's not a, I'm worried about you. It's a, I can't watch you get hurt. To that point, I've got a quote here. I'll read real quick. But Dane says, "Do you think I want to watch my best friend die? Do you think it'll be fun to see what they'll do to you, knowing you're General Soren Gale's daughter? Putting on leathers doesn't make you a rider, Vi. They're going to tear you to shreds, and if they don't, the dragons will. In the writer's quadrant, you either graduate or die. And you know that. Let me save you. Please, let me save you." Fuck off. God damn.
No.
Whiny baby.
She don't need no saving. And also, you can't save people. You can't. I'm sorry. They have to save themselves. I have learned that the hard way.
And it's something I think you constantly have to relearn as you make new friends or new loves. And we have to remember they're only 20. Well, 20 and 21. So their brains haven't fully developed yet.
They don't have much experience.
It's something I think we need to watch out for as the story plays out, because it's one thing to care about somebody deeply. It's another thing to have a bit of a hero's complex and feel like you need to save her. Like, you gotta let her make her own choices, my guy.
Oh, yeah.
Will that be the end of that argument? Definitely not. As we see in chapter 4 when we get there. And then we get the speech of all speeches from Xaden up at the dais. Where he's just, I bet you think you're hot shit now. You crossed a rickety bridge in a storm. Congratulations.
Hey, only some of them crossed it in a storm.
True.
The other ones had it easy. I'm sorry, Dylan.
R.I.P. Dylan.
R.I.P.
Forever in our hearts. We find out that they're being moved to Fourth Wing. Dane's entire squad.
Yes.
Thoughts on how that played out?
I'm curious as to why Xaden has so much power that he can just be like, hey, I'm taking them. I'm also curious why the whole unit and not just her, other than not, like, so blatantly wanting to single her out. But I feel like at this point, like, it's kind of obvious regardless.
Well, we're also getting this in Violet's perspective, so it seems quite
That's true.
obvious. It might not be
That's
that
true.
obvious to everybody else.
That's fair. You're right. You're right. I guess they did kind of discuss it, so maybe I could see it as very much a you owe me a favor kind of thing amongst, like, the other wing leaders.
I mean, Dane pulled that with getting them into his squad in the first place, so I
Exactly.
don't see Xaden being above that tactic at all.
Yeah, very true.
Then we get into his actual speech and your thoughts on the dragons arriving, and how some people decide to run away after making it across the parapet, and the dragons are like, nah, you can't run away from this.
Yeah, so the drama, first of all. Like, goddamn.
Like, ruthless.
Feel real bad for the people who got themselves barbecued after all that. Sometimes, I mean, you got that fight or flight instinct. Sometimes it's flight. So yeah, that sucks. Be going through all that, and then like, you have one tiny moment of weakness, and you just burnt to a crisp.
Between the 4 quadrants, riders, healers, scribes, and infantry, which quadrant, if you were in this world, would you want to be in? Not which one do you think you would be good at, just which one would you want to be in? Or we can answer it both ways.
Probably scribe, either way. I don't have the strength and agility to be a rider. Also, I'm terrified of heights. I love dragons, but I'm terrified of heights. I don't, and also, you know what? I'm not cut out for combat in any form. So infantry's out too. Like, no, thank you. I'm also pretty damn queasy. So healing, anything that's I'm gonna have to deal with wounds and guts. That's not gonna be me. But I love to read,
Right.
and I love history.
I think, too, without spoiling anything, I think this should be a question that we also like bring up occasionally as we learn more about different quadrants. It'd be interesting seeing if we change where we think we'll go.
I also think with the speech, Violet definitely called it in the like, oh, they want us to be scared, and it's working. The poor kid who pissed himself. I can't blame him. I probably would have done the same thing, to be totally honest.
Do you want to know what quadrant I would be in?
Oh my god, yeah, duh. Sorry.
No, I had a coughing fit, so I appreciate you covering the dead air. honestly, I think I've got pretty good balance because I'm short and so I have a low center of gravity. Fun fact, Violet and I are the same height.
Nice.
But Xaden is 6'4", and so I have some questions when the smut comes around, but we're not there yet. You're thinking about her climbing him like a tree. I knew it. I saw it. I could read it.
I can see it in your eye.
You're thinking about climbing Xaden again.
Look, I got a thing for tall people. Like especially you get to the like foot difference, 1 foot difference in height. Just like, oh, I don't know why.
You're like, it's a challenge.
I like it. Yeah, it's that. It's also, I like to feel small.
Fair.
I like to feel tiny and petite.
But honestly, I'm not somebody that necessarily likes reptilian things. But for whatever reason in my head, I like dragons. I don't know if I wouldn't be a little chicken shit if I ever actually met one. But I honestly feel like I could excel in the writer's quadrant. I'm fairly hand-eye coordinated. I used to do martial arts.
Yeah.
I just need to get back in shape. I think I could actually take on some people.
Because you're a badass. Like, you might not see that in yourself. In fact, I know that you don't, but you are a badass.
Oh, the light is washing me out. You can't tell I'm blushing.
Yes, I can.
Dang it. But I think I could also be really good in the scribe quadrant. Initially, I thought I'd be really good at the healer's quadrant, but I don't know if I would be able to handle all the blood because I can get a little squeamish. I also would have to have Dramamine in this world if I was on the writer's quadrant because I get motion sick really easy. But no, I think it would be a challenge, that's for sure. I don't know necessarily about killing people, but
Yeah.
if I'm in this world, I have a feeling I would eventually get over it if I'm taking real life Cierra out of the situation.
And if that's something like you've grown up in.
Yeah.
Because if it feels to me like this war has been going on for a long time, if they have an entire college dedicated to war.
I believe it says it's a 400-year war.
Xaden's speech.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I basically said everything I have to say about it. Of like, very much like the coming in with the kind of falsely pumping them up. Like, yeah, you guys probably feel awesome, right? Scare the shit out of you. How the fuck you feel now, bitches?
Yep.
I love that. I love sassy. I love a sassy man.
This podcast is very much going to be a Xaden Ryerson
Thirst
fan
trap?
club. We're going to be thirsting after
Thirst
Xaden
cast.
Ryerson.
Yes.
Yes. The entire time. I can't wait because we have not gotten enough of him yet in these first 4 chapters.
I'm already in love. It doesn't take much for me.
Dan and I were friends for 6 months, and then a week into being official, I said I love you, so I can't say any different for me.
Yeah, my boyfriend and I had been together for less than a month, and we said I love you within a few days. Anyway.
We give our love freely.
It's fine. The world is ending. Who has time to waste?
Alrighty, let's get into chapter 4, shall we?
Before I lose all of my light.
So, death roll, freaking brutal.
Goddamn depressing.
They stand there and they just read the names. There's no pomp and circumstance. It's just, okay, we acknowledge them. Next.
Freaking brutal, man. I don't want to think about it too much, I'm gonna be honest. If I empathize too much, I'll cry.
I'm excited for once we get completely emotionally invested in everybody.
You're
And for-
excited? Because I'm terrified. I'm terrified. I've seen the reactions to Onyx Storm. I know people are sending her their therapy bills.
But that's why I love it. So we meet some of her squad mates, namely the smartass first year, Riddick, and then the repeat cadet, Sawyer.
Yes.
Thoughts on them? This is very early introductions. Also, we technically see some other people in the squad, but they're not named. And so I'm not bringing them up yet until we get their names. But just know that you've already met them.
Cool. Riddick, I don't have a lot of opinions about yet, other than, okay, you smartass. We'll see. We'll see. Because I can love a smartass, but I can also hate a smartass. Sawyer, there's a little part of me that's already endeared to him. Just in the fact of, like, because he is repeating that, like, he wasn't chosen, but he's still doing it again. Yay! Good for you, buddy.
It
I'm
takes-
proud of you.
So much determination, I think, to risk your life, make it all the way up to threshing, and then not bond a dragon, and then have to be held back for the rest of the year at the hopes that maybe you'll bond this year. Not to mention that at least twice that the dragons that are willing to bond is the phrase that's repeated, which implies there are dragons out there that are just like, nah, nobody was worthy.
Yeah. So there is also that little bit of pity. I feel bad. It's okay. Somebody gonna love you. My gosh, I have a thing for strays. No.
Maybe it's also I don't know what you would call this in me, but I would be like, you've been through this already? You want to be best friends? Want to tell me how you made it through the quadrant? Not gonna lie, I will say, just for my own headcanon, I forgot completely that Riddick was short.
He's short
But
king.
yeah, they explain it several times, I think, when describing him, like the shorter cadet.
I didn't pick up on that.
I always just assume everybody is taller than me, though, so
That's understandable. Was there anyone else other than Riddick and Sawyer?
those are the only two that are named.
Okay.
other than Rhiannon, but we already met her in the first 2 chapters.
But also, I love that Sawyer's, all right, get your shit, get to class. And immediately after Violet notices, and then Rhiannon subsequently notices Dane being like, hey, come over here. Just immediately.
Bird calling.
Yeah, bird calling, which again, very Hunger Games.
I will say, I don't know if this is something we touched on earlier, but I do feel like while not a lot of what Rebecca Yarros is pulling from for this book is new or fresh, I feel like the way it's delivered is very fresh.
Yeah.
And that's, at least for me, enough to get me through this book without being like, oh, this is a ripoff.
Yeah, you can definitely see the beats of certain tropes, but it doesn't feel like worn out or overplayed. It still feels like unique and fresh. Yeah.
And I think that's a testament to Rebecca Yarros' writing.
But yeah, I love that Rhiannon immediately was like, I'm gonna go get your shit. It's no problem. Go do your thing.
Be a hoe, we stan. Did you notice? So he later is talking about like his signet, his dragon. He reveals he has a red dragon, and the dragon statue he's hiding behind is the red dragon one.
I didn't catch that.
It's a cool little
Look at that.
foreshadow moment, even within the chapter that I noticed this time around.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I like that little detail. And speaking of his signet.
So Dane's signet that he channels through his dragon Kath, who is a red swordtail, is a form of intrinsic, which is mind reading, but he can read recent memories. In order to do that, he has to touch the person. Therefore, he isn't a liability because being an intrinsic is punishable by immediate death.
Scary.
Yeah. Mind reading, no go in this world, unless you can be leashed. Like, you can only read minds by touching them. Specifically, Dane has to touch your temple in order to read your mind.
I like that it is specifically the temple, but it has also made me wonder because there's at least one occasion where he's grabbed her by the face. If, he was trying to sneakily get in there, because especially at that point, he hadn't told her what his signet was. So, like, she would have no
She's
idea.
been all up on her.
So, Dane, you being a sneaky? Rude.
Right?
That's an invasion of privacy.
I've been going through this time around and marking any time they touch anywhere, but then specifically if I notice he's touching her face, there's a lot of usage of the word of cupping of Violet's face, and so I'm just like, define how he's holding her face. I get his hands are probably bigger than her face. So is it his thumbs are on her temples, or is he cupping her face like this? Define face cupping. How is it? And can he do it through like all his fingers, or can it just be like with his thumbs on her temple?
Yeah. I need more details. I need more specifics.
Right.
Give me the info.
But we should be on face cupping watch.
Yes.
going
Be on
forward.
alert.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that I'm like keeping an eye out for now.
I have a special tab just for that.
Yeah.
But we learned a little bit about relics and how powers manifest through dragons in this chapter, and that there's lesser magics that as soon as your dragon decides you are capable of channeling, that everybody can do. And some of them I thought were just really cute. Like, you can power pens instead of using quills. I think you have like a faster speed, and there's something else. But I can't
Well, can't he even just, like, I swear Dane opened a door without actually touching it, but just like waving his hand or whatever. That's cool.
As far as lesser magics powered through the bond of my relic, I can do the typical stuff like open doors, so you were right, crank up my speed, and power ink pens instead of using those inconvenient quills. I thought they were interesting. Just little mundane, everyday things that people can do. And then they also specified some signets that are like common, not necessarily a signet that will set you apart, and it's like fire wielding, ice wielding, water wielding, kind of your basic elemental things. But it's interesting that earth or rock isn't an option in there.
That is interesting.
We also learn Melgren, who is, I believe, the general of the Navarian forces, that his signet is he can predict battle outcomes.
Yeah, that really intrigues me.
I'll be interested to see your thoughts on the variety of signets we'll get to see as the book progresses.
Does it get into his anymore?
A little, but I don't know if it'll be in the way you expect.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I think this is an important thing to highlight here now. Violet just can't seem to quite grasp that this is the same boy that she grew up with. And so he gives this whole speech. This place can warp almost everything about a person. It cuts away the bullshit and the niceties, revealing whoever you are at your core. They want it that way. They want it to sever your previous bonds so your loyalty is to your wing. It's one of the many reasons that first years aren't allowed to correspond with their family and friends. Otherwise, you know I would have written you. But a year doesn't change that I still think of you as my best friend. I'm still Dane, and this time next year, you will still be Violet. We will still be us.
Will they, though?
It feels very foreshadowing.
It does. It does feel very foreshadowing. Are they both going to make it till next year? Who the fuck knows?
With Rebecca Yarros, you definitely don't know. Everybody's on the chopping block.
God. Poor Dylan. Rip. He never even got a chance. Yeah, but it also very much, it feels a little forced. Like, methinks you doth protest too much. Clearly, you're not the same person. You've changed. And it's okay. Like, people are supposed to change. And it's silly to think that you wouldn't change in such an environment.
I wonder if he's in denial, though. I wonder if he doesn't think he's changed that much. Maybe he can't see his own personal growth.
That's true. That is a hard thing to see.
It requires being aware.
It requires a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness.
And at least from
everyone has.
From the way he argues about trying to keep her safe, a lot of his argument would beg that maybe he isn't the most self-aware yet. They leave, and immediately Violet feels a tingle. Her Xaden senses are tingling.
That Peter tingle. Except it's a Xaden tingle.
Spidey senses. And lo and behold, who is staring at Violet and now Dane as he comes out from behind this statue pillar column thing? But Xaden Ryerson. Thoughts on this interaction?
Well, he made it very obvious that he's out to get her.
Or at least is very aware of her.
Yeah, and like calling out the relationship and that they know each other, like very targeted, obviously, very much like specifically putting a target on their backs as if she needed another one.
Right.
You know?
All the odds are always stacked against her.
I think it's funny that they're both immediately like, oh, he's gonna come kill you now. Because to me, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
To me, it was very much like I'm gonna intimidate you and get in your head kind of thing. And I'm like, you're gonna look like an idiot when you start running and he's just standing there like, bitch, what the fuck?
Right? Like, you think he's gonna chase you right now?
I don't think so.
I mean, maybe
I think
later.
he has things to do.
Yeah, like classes are about to start.
But yeah, I also appreciate that it's just as obvious to other people that they have a little bit more in the friendship. Just a little bit. Like, there's something there. And other people see it too. Or at least Xaden sees it.
Imagine being there and just being like, well, we all know they're all three gonna be fucking, so. Like, that would be my thoughts watching that. It's like, oh, free drama. Who needs TV?
Ooh, the tea. It's brewing.
Let's talk favorite moments, quotes, and predictions.
Yes. Also, if you're watching the video podcast, I apologize for the strange lighting change.
So, do you have any favorite quotes or anything from the first chapter?
Nope.
Okay. One of my favorite is Mira and Violet are talking about the Book of Fables. So Violet's holding two books. She gets rid of one, the Fables, but keeps the other one with her. Important to know for later. But when Mira's like, is it that old book of folklore about dark-wielding vermin and their wyvern? Haven't you read it 1,000 times already? Violet responds, probably more. And they're venin, not vermin. And for some reason I read that as in, it's Leviosa. It's like, you're giving Hermione vibes. But I'm here for it. When Mira's talking about the vest that she had made from her dragon scales, he's like, I happen to know a writer whose powers can make big things very small and smaller things much, much bigger.
Yes.
And then Violet's like, I mean, how much bigger? They're both just horny and sassy, and I'm here for it.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, favorite moments from chapter 1. Just in general, I really love their little bonding moment. It's just so sweet to me, and like just reminds me of my relationship with my siblings in a lot of ways, and like our relationship as well.
We're practically family at this point with how long we've known each other.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just that's really sweet to me. I really love that part. Plus, it's like the last little like bit of like interaction they're gonna have for a fucking while.
Yeah. Speaking of their relationship, I really love Mira's goodbye. It's just, don't die, Violet. I'd hate to be an only child. Like, it's kind of brutal, but in like a funny way, where it's like, I can see it coming across as very like sarcastic. We're the only ones here for each other, and while this comes off as cold, it means I love you, kind of a thing.
Yes, I understand, because like bullying is my love language.
Yeah,
so I love the teasing, like the roasting, little jabs, because like it's someone saying like, hey, I see you, and I see the like little flaws or the things that you're not proud of, and I still love you, and I'm gonna tease you about it because I love you.
Yeah, I have the right to tease you about it because I love you.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that.
I like to when they're walking up the steps to the parapet, and Rhiannon's talking about how cool it'd be to be a writer, and she says, and the right to call yourself a supreme badass. Violet agrees and says, pretty sure they issue you an ego with your flight leathers.
Yes.
Like, little snarky quips, or just her internal monologue about the writer's quadrant before she even gets up there. She calls them, like, egotistical, pretentious fucks. She's very opinionated, and yes. I'm here for it.
Also, a little bit generalizing. Come on now.
Very much so. She's young and has a lot to learn still.
Yeah.
She's very much in her early 20s. I'm well-read, therefore I think I know quite a bit about the world, and it's about to come crashing down on her, as it does for most 20-year-olds. We both sound so old right now.
Look, y'all, when I was 20, my dad died, so I get it. We got them daddy issues. Them my daddy loved me, but now he dead issues. Yes. Quotes, not specifically, but my goddamn, I love when she has Jack by the balls. I said I so badly wanted her to just take just one of them. Just like, whoop.
Nick, poke a hole, you know.
Yeah. Just a little stab. He'll be fine. He'll survive. Okay?
Put a band-aid on it. It's fine.
Fine. That was a lot of fun. It was especially because not just the like having him by the balls, literally, but the other writers being like, yeah, no, dude, she's right. You can't attack her, but she very much has your life in her hands right now.
She's like, I suggest you reconsider. I might slip.
Yes,
like,
God.
Might
Bad
or should.
assery.
And then I liked the writer who engages them after the situation happens. They're like, well, Jack, Cadet Sorrengail has you by the actual balls here, in more ways than one. She's right. Regs state that there's nothing but respect among riders at formation. You want to kill her, you'll have to do it in the sparring ring or on your own time. That is, if she decides to let you off the parapet, because technically you're not on the grounds yet. So you are not a cadet. She is.
Yep.
And I love it because it makes it more impactful to me, because it's like she knows the regulations. She has the codex memorized. I feel like her turning at the end of the parapet was intentional. It wasn't just I made it across, now let me defend myself. It was also, let me make it to this point so I can have this advantage against him and then defend myself. Like, yeah, it just shows forethought in that regard, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, for sure.
So most of mine were like the flirty things she says with Dane, where they're walking up to his room, and she's like, don't worry, if someone sees us, I'll just say that I was overcome with lust at first sight and couldn't wait another second to get you out of your pants. And Dane's like, ever the smartass. And her response is, I can throw in a few, oh, Dane cries once you're in your room just for believability. And then her inner monologue is, I offer and actually mean it.
Yes. She's just unabashedly horny for him. Mm-hmm. And I applaud her for that.
And I wonder if, so they state that they've always not been on the same wavelength when it comes to being into each other. I'm wondering if her finally being in like Rider Leathers gives her that confidence to maybe be like, yeah, I'm gonna shoot my shot. Why not? I'm here.
I'm gonna say is when I put on black leather, I definitely am feeling myself.
Right.
And there is definitely a lot of confidence that comes out. That is, yeah.
I mean,
leather will do that.
How else do you explain this next quote where she's like, why, Dane Atos, you've seen me in swimwear, tunics, and even ball gowns. Are you telling me it's the leather that does it for you? He blushes, and then he says, glad to see our year apart hasn't dulled your tongue, Vi. To which she responds, oh, I can do quite a few things with my tongue. You'd be impressed. I'm like,
damn, girl.
Hold on, I'm gonna take some notes on how to flirt with my partner. Got it.
Right? Again, this is why I like the smut. You know?
Give me material.
Yes. Practical applications. So the only favorite quote I have for this section right now, because I'm terrible. Xaden has moved them to his wing, and her inner monologue. I'm now entirely at his mercy. A subordinate in his chain of command. He can punish me however he likes for the slightest infraction, even imaginary ones. It's just so sexually charged.
Rebecca Yarros knew what she was doing with that.
She knew. She knew. Girl, she knew. We all knew.
We all done knew. We've been knowing.
We've been knowing. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of love that like Xaden called them out, because in my headcanon they're already in a love triangle. It's like petty, and I love just like a little bit of pettiness, just like a little bit, you know, just like I'm gonna tell everyone your business.
There are a crap ton of tropes that I enjoy in books that I don't enjoy in my own personal life. I love seeing someone get jealous, but I hate experiencing it in real life.
Yes.
I think the pettiness falls into the jealousy category. I don't know if it needs to be stated, but as far as favorite moments, just anytime Xaden is on this page.
But just the quote of don't borrow tomorrow's trouble.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Is like something that I have to remind myself a lot, because I have anxiety and my brain will sit there and contemplate every possible scenario of things that, and it's usually the scenarios in which they could go wrong. It's never the ways it could go right. And yeah, so I have to constantly remind myself, like, there's no need to be thinking about that. You have no idea what's going to happen. Worry about it when it's actually a problem.
Compartmentalization sometimes works in my favor and sometimes does not.
It is a healthy coping mechanism as long as you later decompartmentalize. It's the leaving it in that box for forever that is the problem. But
so
it is important.
How much do I owe you for this therapy session? I feel like you just read me to Phil.
I mean, I've been reading myself too, girl.
Do you have any predictions then going forward with our next 4 chapters? Or just overall book predictions?
So I had a prediction that was very quickly debunked.
Was
I
it
guess,
the Jack
to speak.
Barlow?
No. Although I do, that's still, you know what? I do still have that prediction. I think they gonna
We're adults.
This is an adult podcast. When they met the dragons and the way that she's like talking about this big navy dragon that's in front of her, like I didn't grasp that they were the dragons of like the wing leaders and of the leaders. Didn't catch that. So to me, I was like, oh, that's foreshadowing or something that like that's gonna be her dragon. And then like no chapter later, it's like, oh, never mind.
I will say it is fun if you notice it and you know that going into rereading that section. There's a lot of parallels between that Navy Dragon and Xaden that are just fun to catch as you're reading. That's one of my favorite things, though, is having predictions as you're reading and seeing whether or not they pan out or not. But I think that may also be from the writer's side of my brain, where I'm like, if I were an author.
Yeah. Because I also love writing, and I love, like dropping in the little hints, the little foreshadowing details. Yeah.
They're so delicious, tasty little tidbits.
Tasty little morsels.
Alrighty, so let's get into our song dedications. I'm excited to hear why you chose the songs you chose.
Yes, I specifically did not put in there why I chose them, because I wanted it to be a little bit more off the cuff.
Chapter 1, my song dedication is My Blood by Ellie Goulding. I feel like the beat is vaguely militaristic, and my blood can have 2 different meanings. It feels both like a reference to Violet's chronic illness, but also the seemingly not great blood shared between Violet and Mama Sorrengail as she's sending her off to the writer's quadrant. And it also, the overall vibe of the song feels very uncertain, and Violet in this first chapter is just uncertain of her chances, her life choices, all of the above. What about you?
So my choice was, by probably no one's surprise, Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. And let me tell you why. Just a little emo trash. So first of all, in going with the military-esque beat, definitely that. So especially the intro to the song and the outro to the song, there is very straight up marching band drumming, military-esque. Also, like in the intro of the song, there were just a lot of lyrics that I found very like parallel to what she's going through. So in the intro, this very much, when I was a young boy, my father took me into the city. He said, son, when you grow up, would you be the savior of the broken, the beaten, and the damned? So this idea of having your parent put you in this role and putting this, like, choosing this fate for you. And also the through lyric of, like, when you're dead and gone, we'll carry on, feels very much, all these people's about to die. But essentially just this very, like, the overall tone of the song is this very defiant, I'm here, I'm gonna be me, I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm gonna, we will remember those of you who didn't make it, but I'm still here fighting. Kinda. Yeah.
We commend their souls to Malik.
Yes, exactly.
The song I dedicated for chapter 2 is Lightning and Thunder by Mariana's Trench. Because I had to. Mariana's Trench is our band. Like, how many times have we seen them together? Like, at least 4? Maybe a bit of an obvious song choice because it's called Lightning and Thunder and there's a storm happening as Violet's crossing the parapet. But I do feel like the meaning of this song really kind of speaks to the internal strength and underlying optimism. Also, the courage that Violet displays as she pushes past her fears and just takes on the first of many foreseeable challenges in this book.
Yeah, and in the tone and the vibe of the song as well, I definitely feel that.
It's a little peppier than I was originally looking for, but I think overall it still fits.
Mine feels a little bit... I feel like I'm going to need to explain. So, my choice for chapter 2 is Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler, which, if you're millennials, you will likely remember from
Shrek.
The Shrek 2 end credits, bonus scenes, deleted scenes of the Far, Far Away Idol. That the fairy godmother sings. I mean, it's freaking jams. And the song is very much what it says on the tin. I'm holding out for a hero till the morning light. And I feel like this applies in 2 different senses. To Dane wanting to be that hero for Violet and saving her. And I very much see him painting himself in that role, considering he straight up said, let me save you. But then also, like, this idea of your damsel in distress needs saving. Except that she doesn't. The hero that Violet needs, that Violet is holding out for, is herself. And, like, she's about to go show it to everyone. And she fucking does. And I just, literally as I'm reading this chapter, this song is going through my head.
My song dedication for chapter 3 is Gasoline by Halsey. I feel like this song really fits the shock that Violet is constantly having to fight as she's slowly accepting her new surroundings, which is very different than how she was raised. Even though she lived on the periphery of it all, I feel like it's still a complete and utter shock.
So my choice for chapter 3 is kind of also just works for this entire section that we read. And I think this is the song like that primarily was kind of going through my head reading these chapters, but it is Just a Girl by No Doubt. You know, you have that main female protagonist who people see as weak, and it's not necessarily weak because she's a girl, because there are, you know, lots of other female writers as well, but just this idea of being underestimated because
the underdog.
Being the underdog and people seeing you as weak or fragile.
So chapter 4, instead of the whole chapter, I've picked a song just for Dane. Dane, the childhood friend and longtime crush of Violet. Sometimes the memories of that hope can cloud the present. Dane seems so different now, but that old hope lingers. And for that, I chose Never Not by, I think it's pronounced Love. That one seems a bit more like the relationships in the past, but I couldn't find anything that was like a running into a childhood friend type of a song. So I feel like this was the closest thing I could find. What about you?
I chose Jumpsuit by 21 Pilots because I went a little bit more, and you know what, to be honest, this might relate to chapter 3 a little bit more than chapter 4. But I feel like they're both kind of dealing with Violet, you know, adapting to this new place. And again, there are a couple of lyrics in the song that just like really resonated with that for me. The first set of lines being, I crumble underneath the weight, pressures of a new place roll my way, which I feel like is very fitting of being in this new place where, again, all of this stuff you were saying, it's very different to what she's used to. There is a lot of pressure, clearly, that could very much tear her down. And I mean, even just the very like basic, the line that is repeated a lot of like jumpsuit, cover me. Very much to me, I correlated with her leathers and like the corset that Mira made for her and having that as kind of security blanket.
I'm excited to see where this goes.
Me too.
I've always had such a love for music. Singing was my first passion, and I feel like as I've gotten more into books again, it's so easy to pick an audiobook over music that I'm just like, I don't want to lose that. So this will be fun.
It's a really interesting way to dissect what you're reading and like adds another level of like literary analysis as well as like musical analysis. Yeah, and I love melding the two art forms, and when both are so like personal and up to interpretation. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our very first episode.
We're so excited to be starting this journey with you.
Please join us next week as we discuss everything that happened in chapters 5 through 8.
Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Bound to Be Bad Podcast.
And while you're at it, please be sure to leave a rating and review on your podcast listening platform of choice. It does help us grow.
Know somebody else still reeling from the book hangover Onyx Storm left in its wake, like me? Share us with a friend to give them something to hold on to till the next book release, because after this break Rebecca Yarros is going on, who knows when that will be.
Till then, we'll be here, and we hope to see you soon.
Bye!
Bye!
Hey, Book Baddie, before you leave, please enjoy these bloopers.
Welcome to the Bound to Be Bad podcast, a book club Should we take that from the top?
Yes.
Okay.
Rounding out the end of this, let me start that sentence over. I do that to Maya all the time, and she's like, Tita, what? So rounding out the, I came in too hot. Okay, start over.
Yeah, you did.
Rounding out the end of this episode, we've got a fun little section where we've each picked a song to dedicate to each chapter. I'm gonna do that sentence one more time because I said dedicate funny.
Daddy cake.
Rounding out the end of this... Damn it, you talked.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It just very much... I don't know if you can see her little paw just like...
Every once in a while. You're just getting groped off camera.
The little paw. Forgot my train of thought. Look, I really want to read The Lord of the Rings, but let's be honest, they're thick and like they're dense. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of freaking talking about trees. I love the way... I lost my train of thought.
The damsel in distress trope, but different.
Yeah. I like how, frick, no, where is it? Come back. It's like, I remember where we left off, but I can't remember where I was going.
Oh, fair.
You know?
I do that all the time.
You know? Yeah.
Child.
Things are gonna get easier.
My brain is a jukebox, I swear.
Same. So I need to start just like underlining and like highlighting things in my book, but I'm stop eating that.
Oh no. Oh no.
Fucking cat.
You okay?
Yeah. He got caught in my cord and then he ripped them off.
Ripped your headphones
He
right
just
off
ripped
your
them
head.
off. Okay. Wait. They don't love you like I love you.
You're just gonna be us making weird sounds.
Yeah. Don't die. I said don't die.
Sorry. I didn't hear it. I was muted.
Yeah, you were muted. I wasn't.
Shh, don't fight my logic. As far as the lyrics go, can be interpreted in two different ways. It feels very much like it could be a reference.
Accidentally ripped out my headphones. And I don't have
Twice?
speakers.
No.
Oh, I have no idea what you were saying.
Okay, I'll start over. You
Thank
chaos
you.
goblin.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like it's bitch. The fuck? Az is getting into something. Let's return to thought.
I'm just a girl. Leave me alone. I'm just a girl. I'm just a baby.
Fuck. Okay. But yeah, so having that like, nope, I lost it. I keep trying. It's gone. Let's move on.
What was that? Ding.
I have been fidgeting with a pen and I hit it against the bottom of my desk. Specifically the middle part of the bottom of my desk. Let's start over.
I heard that.
My cat's got the zoomies.
Oh
And I
no.
got scared.
Just a lot of jingling. From the
Jingling and
colors.
scratching.